Yeah, that works. Hey, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV coming back at you. I have the opportunity of speaking with someone that many of you have probably heard speak a million times at the City Council meeting, Junad Rizki. And Junad, you know, we've all been given the information about the Evanston budget, and there's going to be a survey going out to Evanston residents in regards to programs being cut. So many of us would like to know what the dollar value amount is on each of these programs. But Junad has actually done a breakdown of City Manager Wally Bobkiewicz's spending of the Evanston budget.
Let me highlight that a little.
Okay, I'm going to let him take over.
All right.
This is all per Junad.
Junad.
Okay, hold on, Junad. Hold on. Okay.
I used to do a cartoon here called Ponzi and Friends. This is Wally Bobkiewicz. This is Ponzi the Pig. Ponzi the Pig is basically, as you know, there's a Ponzi scheme here we have in Evanston with our budget and everything else. I used this cartoon used to be in a local web paper for almost 4 years ago, and probably was for 2 years. It used to come out every week. I used to have a cartoon. So anyway, I might be revising my cartoon, bringing it back. And what Wally's saying here to my little friend Ponzi, Evanston's $6 million budget crisis wasn't created in one day. I've been working on it for over 8 years. Wally's been here over 8 years. And basically, my cartoon is saying, look where we're at now. We're at zero cash. And people should understand, obviously we're at a negative cash flow because Wally needs $6 million to fill the budget, to keep it floating. But you see, this is $6 million is cash. Like you have your checking account, it's not like you have a loan on a house. We have $500 million in loans here of obligations that we can't pay. That's another problem. And that's why we're in this big budget crunch. And then my little pig said, Wally, I thought budgets were about numbers. Where are the numbers in your priority-based budget process? So tonight, what Wally did, he makes a list up of priority-based budget items. None of these have any numbers. He wants residents of this community to look at this. We could have an item on there that's worth $3,000. We have another item worth $100,000, and where's the priority to it? And talking to some of the city employees, some of the people are saying none of this makes any sense, because you're cutting things we need, like field maintenance. You can't cut it. And one of the issues I had been involved with some years back, back to 2005, was the elm trees. Basically, if you cut down an elm tree, it costs $3,000. To inject an elm tree once every 3 years, it's $300. So the bottom line is, if we stop injecting those trees, we will lose probably at the rate of about $200,000 to $300,000 additional that we'd have to pay every year in our budget for the next X number of years. So it doesn't make any sense. So this is all political. Wally's scheming this up because bottom line is he's looking for a tax increase, and a big one. And what I'm basically on my other thing over here is these are all the mistakes that Wally and his friends have made over the years here. Everybody remembers the bad loan for chicken and waffles. We have a $300,000 spent on a lawsuit at James Park. We have the Robinson lawsuit, which Wally ended up as a party in, that we settled for almost $900,000. And then there's another lawsuit with another that you can't quite see under here, which is another $600,000. And this goes on. And recent things like the Fountain Square engineering problem for $200,000. What it amounts to, if you take these numbers and you add them all up, you can see this is the effect on the property tax that these would have. And this basically, what I have on here adds up to about 25%, 1 year kind of effect on your property tax. That's how much money we've wasted on so many different things. Now, some of these things we could argue are not waste, or there's other things, but many of these things are really problems that were created by Wally or the city council or through mismanagement of employees. So we have a huge problem here of what I would call the management of the city by the city manager. And the other issue that I keep talking about too, and realizing Mr. Bobkiewicz basically runs two governments in town. The government we see at the city council, and you pretend like we're there and we can talk, and then the private government run with him and the aldermen, and secretive. Basically, it's a secretive government. They go out to lunch. What I found out recently, Wally takes an alderman out to lunch every week. He went out to 47 lunches last year and basically discussed city business with each individual alderman. They're allowed to do this, but from our perspective as citizens, what are they talking about? They're not emailing one another back, so we have the right to get their emails. But when he goes out to lunch, we don't have that right, and that's a problem. So there's many things here. And then I made a little cartoon joke down here. This is another little pig talking to a little pig. Didn't Mayor Haggerty say that Mr. Bobkiewicz was one of the best city managers in the country? And the other little pig says, I'm not sure that was an unbiased opinion, given Wally just renovated the mayor's office without telling us. And what happened there is they're supposed to tell you if they do work in the city over $20,000. If they don't they have to present it to the city council. But what Wally has done, he pretends things are under $20,000 so he can go do them without telling the public. And that's what he did down on Howard Street with a peckish pig. They came up with an invoice that was under $20,000, and basically they didn't have to tell us that they did it. So we as the public never know what they're doing with our money. And how many times has he done this? Well, we don't know. We have no idea what's going on here, and that's a problem. And the city council members continue to allow it to happen, and that is a problem. And we've got to stop it, and I think citizens need to be angry, because the bottom line is your taxes and my taxes and everyone's taxes in town may go through the roof. I mean, with all the problems here, we could see 100% property tax increase. They're not going to do that. They're going to just basically hide it as long as they can, because it would be so politically damaging to them. But that's where it all stands. We're in a lot of trouble because Wally Bobkiewicz is basically taking care of the alderman's interest over our interests. And that's all I have to say. I could say more, as you know, but I think that's enough for tonight.
Now, we hear you just about every council meeting you go up there. Why is it that you think they're not listening to you? Because you are there religiously, like every council meeting.
Do they listen to anybody else? No. They listen to what they want and what they want to do. They don't care what you say to them. They do hear it, but they do not care. And what they want to do is silence us. Tonight, what the mayor said was interesting. If you heard, he basically said he doesn't want anybody to give time to another speaker. And that has been going on here for years. At the last council meeting, 2 residents gave me time, and I had 9 minutes. I didn't speak for 9 minutes. I think I I had 6 minutes, and I ended up speaking for 4. But what they want to do is silence as many of their critics as they can. But the big thing is, and I think we all know, there are too many critics now. When I really was, I guess I was very impressed last week when I went to the meeting for Evanston Leeds. There were people from every area of this community, every race, every kind of interest, men, women, and people. Everybody was there. And it's just not the rich white people. They like to pretend to use that as the divide. The rich people in town are in control. It's the west side is angry, the south side is angry, everybody's angry about what they're doing in this community to us. And it's actually the best thing, because we're all coming together. We know who really the enemy is, and we are the people that are really we have to deal with this, and we will. So
have you ever sat down, called any of the city officials and asked for like a private meeting to get the answers that you've been?
I do talk to aldermen, and I will not reveal what we talk about, because obviously I keep confidentiality, just like any other person I would talk to. I protect confidentiality, and we talk about things. So yes.
Well, apparently you're not getting what you want, because you're still there every council meeting. Well,
and you have to realize the problem is what the council wants and what we want and what's going on here. There are many competing interests, and the question is, the interests that are not in the public interest seem to have a bigger pull on the council than maybe the right interests. And like the issue of Harley Clark has gone on for 4 years. There are so many convolutions there, and many things that were just untruths by the city, and the city staff made this up, and Wally made this up. I mean, the children of Evanston can use that building. Right now, children in Evanston in the summer go to the public schools and classrooms and sit, and where they could be sitting inside Harley Clark and using that building for recreation. The rec board agreed with me and several other speakers when Wally wanted to put copper roofs on 2 little garages at the back of the building. The rec board voted that down and said no. Wally then, about 6 months later, went through the council and had the council approve those roofs regardless of the rec board, so he could stop Harley Clark. He has no interest in doing what's right for the people of this community, but for whatever people are his special interest, and protecting certain aldermen and doing certain things here. That's the problem we have here. And until the aldermen on this council, the aldermen I think who are decent and honest and really want to do what's right, say no to the other people here and take a leadership role, we are not going to get any change here. And that's the problem we have today. And then I think Mr. Bobkiewicz needs to probably go. He needs to be terminated. Basically, they need to buy his contract out. They need to get another city manager in here. And if you look at the city, we're not getting qualified people coming here. There are not enough qualified people running city jobs here. He's hiring people with very little experience for these jobs. People with a lot of experience are not going to come here and work for somebody who's basically running this whole city as if it's his own business kind of thing. And I think people, I've heard this from people, but I can observe it in the staff he has here. He has staff that are 10 years of experience in jobs that really require senior staff or 20 years plus. And he's not getting the qualified people, and we really have a large mess here. And it's only going to get worse.
So I know you can't discuss the meetings that you've had with certain city officials, but are there anyone sitting on the city council who agree with what you're saying? They vote the same way that you would if you were on city council?
Well, I think part of the problem here is all of our public officials want to basically get along with one another. And too many of them are too weak-willed. If you go back in the history of the council, we had some stronger council members here 15, 20 years ago, people that would be in disagreement, but at least they would work together. What we have now is a bunch of people that are settling everything in private. What's going on here, and you can see this if you go to the meetings, these people basically don't discuss anything at the meetings, and then they vote on it. There's no real discussion. They're doing everything in private, and Wally is their missioner, basically the guy running back and forth, setting everything up. And that's what's going on here. And that's why we have a problem.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your comments, Junad.
Thank you.
I see you every
You'll see me
meeting.
again, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm around.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
All right.
All right.
Well, you got live TV of me, huh?
Yes.
Do I look stupid?
No, you don't. All right, you guys, this is Evanston Live TV, the voice of the people. I've tried many times to get a meeting with City Manager Wally Bobkiewicz, but he's not very big on interviews, not with anybody, not just Evanston Live TV. But I'm gonna keep at it. I would love to hear his point of view on this because he's getting attacked. So I would love to hear his thoughts on how the budget is being handled and his thoughts on what Evanstonians, residents, are feeling about how the budget is being handled. And definitely want to see if I can get some comments from any of the city officials. They're all still in session right now. But this is Malika, Evanston Live TV, the voice of the people. Wanting to hear more about these budget cuts and what you all think of these programs that could possibly be cut. I mean, they're talking about cutting lunch for kids, the lunch program for children, Fleetwood Jourdain, Noise Cultural Arts Center. It was a list. I'm sure many of you saw that long list. But like resident Tricia had said in the previous video, there's no dollar amount attached to any of those programs. So, we don't know how much those programs actually cost for us to really make an informed decision for the survey that the city wants us to take. And I think we would need to know that. I mean, some programs, most definitely, I don't care how much the money is, we have to keep them, especially lunch program for the kids. That shouldn't even be up for discussion. So it's just a lot going on in Evanston, and I want Evanston residents to, be informed and know what's going on and have a voice and just know what's going on here. So Evanston Live TV is going to keep it moving and see if we can get the other side. Eventually, I'm sure we will. You guys have a great evening and stay tuned.